And however you are and whenever you are, welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan B. Smith on the Inception Radio Network, and you are listening to one of the, one of the spin-offs, I guess you could say, of Epic Voyages Radio, if you will. And I say that because my first guest tonight, after I guess 3, maybe 4 years of working together, is Ken Cherry, who is the founder of Epic Voyages Radio. And coming up right after Ken, we have Nick Redfern, and we're going to talk about the Slender Man mysteries. So I'm going to bring Ken on to talk briefly about this UFO or UAP, if you work in the Pentagon, that was captured on camera by actual pilots. And this was an article that came out in December of 2017 with the New York Times. And the name of this program that existed from 2007 to 2012 was apparently called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. And I wanted to cover this topic because I feel like this is far more important than it's been given coverage for, and it needs to not be forgotten. So all of you ufology fans out there, I know that you know that, but I think that, generally the public does not understand the significance of what was actually caught on camera here. And I think they spent something like $22 million on this budget. So I brought Ken on. Ken Cherry, welcome to the program.
Oh, happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. So can you fill us in on, what this is really all about and any updates since the December?
Yeah, actually, there were 2 videos that were released by the Department of Defense in December. The earlier video covered the 2004 Nimitz carrier event where a couple of pilots tracked a UFO over the water, very similar to this latest reveal. So I think you really touched on something very important there when you said that this was not given the amount of coverage that it should be, because in my opinion what this is leading to is a revealing of probably what is arguably the second most important question in human history. So it can't be understated how important this story is, and yet there's been barely a ripple. However, that goes to the success that the government has had in preparing the populace, basically the country and the world really, for disclosure that there are beings with advanced technology that have been visiting us really throughout millennia. The fact that there are videos is not unique. There have been many, many compelling videos. What is important is the fact that these were released to the public by the Department of Defense. This is not just a willy-nilly, a release. They had to go through many layers of declassification and approval by our, some pretty high up government officials, which means that instead of denying as they have in the past, now they're being more forthright and actually showing us what's in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it something that people are just accepting this as no more, cause them no more concern than a flock of birds in the sky? It's just unbelievable what people have, come to accept. And yet, one of the greatest fears that they've always had, the government, in disclosing this, these people had this technology and their occupants, was that there would be fear and societal upheaval. And here we are talking about a story that's caused barely a ripple.
Yeah, and I'm gonna play the audio for that right now, so everyone who's listening can hear. And this is from that first clip that was read.
Fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating.
So, listening to this clip, they're saying a couple of things that I think really get under my skin and kind of give me, goosebumps. They're saying things like, "Look at that thing, it's going ridiculous, speeds, it's spinning," and then you have the visual to go along with this, and you're literally looking at this object, and it is not a plane. You can see the shape clear as well as night vision goggles go, right? I mean, but you can see it, and it's a real three-dimensional thing, and it's not shaped like any other craft, and there's no way a craft that relies on aerodynamics could move and fly that way. And these guys, you could hear it in their voice. They're like, yeah.
These video clips just reveal a mountain of information beyond just what we're looking at. When you think about it, these crafts in both of these cases reveal themselves to our military with impunity. They, they're if there was any intimidation, it's of us, not them. Obviously, they have no concern that we could catch them or so forth. So they're pretty much saying, "Here we are. Take pictures of us. We don't care."
Yeah.
And the government is actually, the military is actually releasing these videos. This is in stark contrast to the policy that we had in the early 50s, when military pilots were instructed, if they couldn't get them to land, to attempt to shoot them down. And that was the head of our Air Command in 1952 was quoted as saying that we lost hundreds of men and planes in the attempt to down these things. So obviously, the attitude has changed considerably since then, and since these UFOs have demonstrated that they have the superior technology, and really we have no control over them. So I guess you might say that this is a peaceful coexistence, and now they're showing themselves with impunity, and the military and some high government officials have decided then the public needs to come to terms with it as well, because there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, I mean, I think you're right that we are living peacefully, together. I mean, unless there's a long game that they have that is, I don't know how long, thousands of years, and then it's going to end up bad for us in the end. But I think you make a really good point that this video had to have gone through so many ranks before it was released. And you, for so many years, have been talking about the slow trickle towards, the release of and final announcement, the disclosure of aliens are here. Do you think that's a part of that agenda?
Oh, absolutely. In June of 1952, for about a 1 week period of time, an armada, I guess is about the only way you can explain it, of UFOs flew over the nation's capital, and they were viewed almost nightly for about a week by tens of thousands of people. You can find plenty of video evidence of it happening. We interviewed a CIA young analyst who was there at the time, and he witnessed jets of the day trying to chase them, and without catching up to them and so forth. So as a result, the CIA decided to study the phenomenon and to gather all the information they could, which came, out in the, they had Blue Book and so forth. But one of the intentions of the government since then has been to prepare the citizenry for this disclosure. And I think that the fact, again, that there's been so little reaction to these stories proves that over the last 60 some odd years or so, that they've been quite successful in what they called education of the public. Yeah. And so, yes, I do believe it heads toward ultimately disclosure. So, in my experience in 30 years of interviewing witnesses of UFOs from all walks of life, basic education to advanced degrees and various levels of sophistication, they all believe that there's intelligent life out there somewhere in the, among the stars. So I don't think that there is possibly the level of concern that the government has had, but they've been overly cautious, I think, and but eventually they won't be able to avoid it because apparently these let's face it, some intelligence is maneuvering these craft, and obviously they're less and less concerned with being seen. So whether the powers that be want this disclosed or not, I think it's going to happen.
And I think that, I don't know if desensitizing is the right word, but I think we've become accustomed to the idea that maybe we're visited. And so maybe that's why people just go, okay, yeah, well, we kind of knew that. We're just waiting for you to come clean on the subject.
Right. I think the way they put it from the findings of the Robertson panel, which the CIA had
still based on that,
formed with one of the top scientists of the day back in 1952, was that it began an education program, and they even named a Disney production company and another company, Jim Handy, which had done all of the war films and particularly the classified ones. So I think it's not coincidental that Hollywood has spent so much time and energy on sci-fi type movies, and the popularity of Star Trek and all of the related type of TV shows and so forth now. I mean, you've had people standing in line for a couple of days at one point for one of the Star Trek movies that came out. So obviously there's a widespread acceptance of this notion. So regardless of whether people accept it or not, I do still believe that there's a fear because of the disruption to the world economies.
Yeah.
And but that's coming one way or the other, I believe.
Well, I get frustrated a little bit because we react to certain, more mundane or just silly social media posts or tweets or things in the media, and we make a big deal about it, and then something like this comes out, and it's like, all right.
Right.
Well, what really got me, and I probably have spoken about this on like 3 or 4 shows now, but when I saw the interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson on CNN, his reaction was, it's a UFO. Don't know what it is. It is a UFO. I can't say that it's this or that. It's a UFO. And that was basically, he just kept repeating it and repeating it. He's like, that's what a UFO is. It can't be this or that. And we just don't know what it is. And like at least address the fact that this is very bizarre and doesn't fit into any patterns of non-intellectual control or...
This is far beyond the typical UFO sighting report that I've seen over the past 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the military with a very sophisticated tracking device that is locked in on a solid object.
Right.
And
it's not lights in the sky.
it is not lights in the sky. It is something solid. It's the UFOs that visited the nation's capital in 1952. The military tried to explain away as some sort of strange weather phenomenon. It was a heat anomaly, you know, and so it just happened to come back and be, you know, outrunning jets that were chasing it and so forth and so on. But, you know, this is not your, you know, typical UFO case. And so, no, I wouldn't say it's just a UFO. It's a UFO. No, this is technology that is far beyond anything that we have, that we know we have, or that our friends and adversaries and competitors have. So this is several steps up from a UFO, in my opinion. This is, and unless it lands, this is about as close you're going to get to a real visual of a UFO. The fact that this thing is responding, it's maneuvering. I mean, everything about it just cries intelligent. You know, is being run by intelligent beings, and so that the implications of that are just absolutely staggering. Yeah. And yet, you're right. The media and most people just react like it's a flock of geese, which, by the way, in both of these cases, there were a number of UFOs that were seen on their radar. And so, once again, radar is proof that you can use in a court case, for example, as solid evidence. Yeah. So, you know, we've got video of it. We tried to chase it. We can tell it's solid. It's on radar. It's outmaneuvering us. I mean, how much proof do you need?
You have multiple trained and qualified eyewitnesses.
These pilots are expert at identifying things in the sky. So to say UFO is to dismiss it as something, you know, insignificant, like the typical lights in the sky report, and it's not. It's far more than that.
Well, let's keep on top of it, and we'll not let go of this story. That's for sure. Ken, thanks for coming on.
Well, my pleasure, and good evening to you and your audience. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Stephenville UFO Mark Slade Investigates book is available on Amazon. Can't forget that.
Yes, it is, and it's a thinly veiled novel. I had to write it that way to protect the identities of a number of my sources who were CIA, NSA, FBI, and various military and Department of Defense officials. So there's an important message there that correlates to this disclosure that they've made here. And they all, when they contacted me, said, here's some important information you need to get out to the public, but you can't use my name. So when you're reading it, I think you'll probably find something on at least every other page that is an important reveal. So that's my spiel.
All right. I'm glad you spieled.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ken. And coming right up next, right now, actually, is Nick Redfern, author of The Slender Man Mysteries.